to order the Selectmen's meeting at 5:01 PM. First on the agenda is to approve and sign the minutes from August 24th. Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Robert McAfee here with Woodstock Residents for Education Excellence and some points of discussion. Do you want me to go through those points of discussion before you start, or are you?
No, actually, I'm thrilled that there are so many people here and online and chalking it up on Facebook, because now we can hopefully get some involvement. Just to let everybody know, I'm here specifically because a number of people have come to me and said, hey, we need somebody to go in and say, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and what they're concerned about. Specifically having to do with the quality of education and the actions of the school board and what they're doing to improve the education. So I've got a series of data that I want to pass out to you. I went and searched up a bunch. Everything I could find now, the school does not bother giving us anything. We've requested it many times. Can't get any direct information about stuff from the school. So, there's not enough for everybody, but you're welcome to like photograph it with your cell phone and then you have the data and pass it around.
Where are we going?
Right here. Yeah.
Cassie,
Thank you, Kathy.
Darlena,
Just, I got a few more.
Darlena, B-A-R-L-E-N-A.
That was my last one.
L-E-N-A.
So,
Chad Morris,
We'll share.
J.W.
The Sherry looks at it.
one for me.
Daniel Maxey.
We'll just have to try to get the rest at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
So what I've just passed out is 4 websites that I searched for data on the ranking of the school system. And because this has grown and it's great that everybody's here, I shrunk it down to go more in depth on elementary school, start there, and if we progress with this stuff, we can do more meetings on the middle school and the high school. And since, you know, what we're looking at basically is the quality of the education for the kids. The first question is anybody happy that the school is ranked 196th out of 231? Anybody? Because I saw a lot of comments on Facebook. 196th out of 231. Out of 32 schools in Grafton County, Linwood Elementary School is dead last. Ranked number 2. You know, got a rating of number 2 out of 10. They don't actually do a 1. That's where the elementary school is at right now. If you open up and look at the pages, you can see over the last few years how they've ranked against the state. Again, all the website information is available. What we're talking about here is ranking out of a potential, you know, 1 to 100, 1 being the best. We're in the 92nd percentile. That's not on the good side. So, many people are concerned about this. When we did the budget committee earlier this year, which many people spent a lot of time and got involved in that and did a lot of hard work on that, and asked many, many questions, much of which never got answered, much of which was simply tossed aside. In the past, we've run into situations where the administration and the school board have actually resulted in a Woodstock citizen suing the school board to get the information because they wouldn't supply it. That's just not acceptable. The reason we're here with the selectmen today is because you determine whether or not this town is going to collect those taxes. People are going to the school board, they're trying to talk to the school board, they get shut down by the school board. Just one of the most recent meetings that I went to, The chairman of the board prevented anybody from talking over 3 minutes because he felt that's what he wanted to do, even though a board member specifically pointed out that that was inappropriate and not correct. They're not even following their own rules. The latest mandate on masks at the school didn't have any public discussion. Just something they went ahead and did, and they're required to have public discussion. They're required to take input from the populace. When we asked how they were rating the school system, because they said these types of things that that other people do isn't something that they were interested in. They said, they don't care. They do their own thing. The problem is their own thing is resulting in this. If there's somebody here that's thrilled with this, speak up. Let's hear it.
Is there public participation during this? Can we answer questions or ask questions or make comment at this time? Because if so, I'm sure there would be some people that would like to speak.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'd like to speak.
yes, Thomas Saber.
So first of all, I want to say that it is good to see everyone here. I hope that we can be adults and have a conversation about this and not have hard feelings when we leave, because everyone has different opinions, and that's what's great about living where we live. We're a small community, so I hope that everyone can keep it, friendly and have a good discussion and not get hurt. Because when we leave this, we still have to be a small community. So, first of all, if you think that all the problems at Linwood in the grade school are the result of the current board, I find that very hard to believe. The school board.
No one said that.
Well, you can read between the lines. All I'm saying is that to get into a position of where they are doesn't happen overnight. Can there be room for improvement? Absolutely. There's always room for improvement. I don't care what you do, if it's work, if it's school, if it's hobby. When you stop trying to be better, that's when we have an issue. And I don't think anyone disagrees that, sure, there's some things that can be tweaked, there's some things that can be done better. But the school board is voted in by the people. So if you don't like who's on the school board, then vote them out or run. If Woodstock, I also saw, that we want Woodstock people to run for school board, we want representation. If we don't put forward candidates that people will accept and appreciate their input, they're not going to get voted in. So that's not really a position for the selectmen. That's a position for people in the community who want to be involved to run for these positions to make a positive change. We all want what's best for the kids. I'll tell you what's not best for the kids is to ship them on a bus for 45 minutes to an hour every single day, 2 ways, to try to let people who can't afford to go get their kids for extracurricular activities, for sports. I'm pro Linwood School. I don't agree with everything all the time. I'm pro Linwood School because I have 2 girls. If they want to play sports, they play sports. Heck, they might even start. If I send them to Plymouth, they're not going to start. If they want to be in band, they want to be in chorus, guess what? Go for it. We are very fortunate to have what we have. We're an island by ourselves in between Franconia Notch and Campton Thornton District. It gives us a very unique situation where our costs are going to be higher. Maybe there is some spots that we can look at, doing some better things. But any talk of, I'm looking at the first few lines on this paper on the agenda to talk about our current position as part of Linwood school system, to explore the town's view on continuing part of Linwood, to even talk about pulling Woodstock kids out of that school is ridiculous. It's not even acceptable. You're penalizing every family in the towns of Lincoln and Woodstock. That's not the right way of going about it. Let's do it in a positive way. Let's support our schools, support our teachers. It's not an open budget, I get it, and trust me, I pay taxes, it hurts. But to even talk about sending our kids somewhere else is just ludicrous.
Thank you, Thomas.
And that's one opinion.
That's one opinion.
Great.
The other side of it.
Charlie, it will go Charlie, Lisa, Rebecca.
I just want to reiterate what Mr. Saborn said here. I know it's on him. I know some people would like to see some discussion. on exploring other solutions. I don't see it as a real solution. If there are problems within our school district, then we're bound by the years of investment we put into the infrastructure here and the people that have children that don't want to travel. That's really all I have to say. I would not be in favor of moving our children anywhere. We have problems in-house, let's solve them in-house. I don't see it as a real option. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. Lisa?
I agree with Tom and Charlie in regards to shipping our children out of the community. Most of us live here because we want to. Most of us are raising our children here because this is where we feel safe and secure. And yes, some of the education is not perfect at Linwood. I've had 3 children so far go through, and 2 out of the 3 struggled. My last one is doing phenomenal, and she's in AP courses, she has additional, she's doing the LNA program in Littleton, and so on and so forth. And she's planning on going to college next year and getting her doctorate. I mean, she has done phenomenal, and the grades are great, and the teachers are great, and I've had both experiences. And the school does need work. And there are some teachers that should retire, and we should get new blood in there, but that's nothing that we're gonna change necessarily. I always feel like people just wanna ship our kids off to somewhere else to solve a problem, and I don't feel that's the case. I don't wanna see that. I mean, she's a senior, it's not really gonna matter to my family necessarily. My granddaughter has 4 years in high school. She wants to stay there. She's gonna get eaten up in Plymouth. My son went to Plymouth High School. It's not any better there. Trust me. They have their issues. Their education isn't all that great either. They have struggles in their special ed. You're just opening up more issues. And then what do you do? And then what do you do to Lincoln? So now Lincoln's all by themselves. There's no more soccer, no more baseball, no more music, no more anything, because they only have 5 kids left. And I don't think any of us want to see that crumble, you know. And they're not perfect, but I know the majority of the people in town of Woodstock want to stay in Lincoln. I don't know who all your people are.
I don't know who you are.
I'm Lisa Robinson, and I live 2 doors down. And I've been here all my life.
The point here is, everyone's...
We're letting everybody speak.
Rebecca,
Yeah,
and then-
let's everybody
Rebecca,
speak.
and then Robert.
I
We
was
all
there
have-
at the time.
No, you're gonna,
But we all
You
have
wanna
a
discuss
say,
it?
Rob.
Yeah.
We all have a say.
Right, you're jumping to conclusions.
Rebecca, and then Rebecca had her.
I don't usually come to meetings. I've never been to one. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't know what goes on in the
Don't
meetings.
short yourself.
I'm just,
Recognize Rebecca.
I wanted to come because I did see this on Facebook. It is a big thing, social media. But I want to learn what goes on in my town because I am a new mom. And I want my child to grow up here. Unfortunately, one of the biggest problems that I have is housing. And I feel like just by reading what I'm reading and not knowing everything that goes on in the meetings and the budgets and taxes, I don't do well with all that. But from what I know is that if somebody says the school sucks, for the lack of a better word, sorry, if it does, why are we taking kids out and bringing them somewhere else? Wouldn't you want to flourish the school for more funding or however that goes? Wouldn't you want more students to get there to make it brighter? Not that I'm disregarding anybody else's opinions. I'm just saying I would think in order to make a school a better place, if you think it's bad, why not what you said, work on the educate, like work on teachers or more extracurricular activities. I just don't, looking at it in layman's terms for me, to me it looks silly to take out and just kind of let it fade away. I would think you'd want to flourish it, get housing for more residents, get more people in the town, and get it so that it gets bigger and then gets better. There's more teachers or new teachers, get people to retire. I just feel like that would be something more than just being like, all right, go to this town. I have a 15-year-old stepdaughter that goes to a high school that's in Nashua, and she does not get help. She's failing every class. You go to Linwood, you got a couple of kids with more teachers, you get more one-on-one help. To me, that looks more of like a better school atmosphere, in my point of view, instead of making them go to a place where the teachers, don't do more one-on-ones, if that makes any sense. I just don't, just by looking at this and being someone in my stature who doesn't really pay attention all that well to the data and tax-paying dollars and stuff like that, I admit I'm not very great at it, but when you look at it like that, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
cool. Robert, and then Jay.
To speak to Becca's point, it's not a matter of dollars. We're already supporting the school with double the state average in dollars. It's not a matter of teachers. We've lost 59 students over the last 5 years, and we haven't given up any teachers, so there's plenty of teachers, yet we're ranked very badly. So the point, I know everybody wants to jump to this point of, oh, let's move them off to another school. That was a point to get everybody's attention, because right now, things need to be done, but they need to be done. There's no plan in place. There's nobody saying, hey, I know this and we're doing something about it. There's nothing happening. So if nothing's happening and nothing continues to happen, there's a point where you say, okay, nothing's ever gonna happen. Say the be.
Thank you. Jay Duguay, Charlie Wishart.
I'll go through the items point by point, but I can say that Mr. McAfee couldn't be more wrong about the acknowledgement that there's room for improvement and the things that are being done about it. And anyone that has been to a school board meeting will know that we talk about that on a regular basis. What we don't put a lot of stock in is internet numbers about what people who have never been to our school think about our performance. We look at how students who are graduating our high school are doing. And I would say that conveniently absent from the stats is that even, as I said, we don't put a lot of stock in it, but even the internet says our high school is number 9 in the state. So
We're talking about the elementary school.
We're doing all right. We're graduating kids when they're leaving our school district. These kids are prepared to go to college. They have opportunities now that even when I was in school, we never had. We have a ton of AP courses. We have a lot of advanced placement, college credit level things that are being offered now, which I think is great. So, like I said, this issue of, and largely these numbers are based on standardized testing performance, are being addressed by the district, they're being addressed by the administration. We have a lot of things that are going on. And anyone that's interested, I'll put in a plug here, the Strategic Planning Committee has been meeting for the last several months. They're seeking all kinds of community input from folks that are concerned about the school, folks that like the school, folks that want to see changes, folks that want to see things the same. The Strategic Planning Committee is working on a long-term strategic plan so that we have, the sort of goals going forward that outlast any particular member or group of folks on the school board. So I encourage you to reach out to the district and at the open house that's coming up, members of the Strategic Planning Committee are going to be there so you can express some of your concerns for that. So with respect to what's being done about it, there is plenty of stuff being done. With respect to representation on the school board, I think we have at least two. I say that because I don't know where one of the members lives. Members from Woodstock here on the school board, myself and Kevin Bell. Kevin Bell was appointed to replace Matt Manning, who was also a Woodstock school board member. So the budget committee issue, I think it's sort of being posed as an elimination of checks and balances. I think that's not accurate. The district puts a budget forward. Ultimately, the town members vote on that budget. The people of Lincoln and Woodstock vote on that budget. And that budget's also overseen by the school board. And so there's checks and balances. And while it was a fairly close vote, I think the members of the communities that voted on whether or not to continue with the school board saw that as a valuable exercise. They voted against that. So that's just something that we have to deal with at this point. I would note that with respect to school costs, the district is above the state average. We have one of the smallest districts in the state. We have the second smallest high school in the state. We're certainly not the most expensive by any means. And, you know, as a taxpayer in the town of Woodstock, you know, we recognize that we pay 35% of the school's budget. So we send about
41.
39, I think it was 2021, we sent 139 students, which we consistently send more students than does Lincoln. And at a cost of $2,407,141 to the town of Woodstock, which is approximately $17,317 per student, which is below, or sorry, it's maybe $130 above the state average, and certainly well below the average for any district around here with similar sized students. So Campton's up in the 20s, Wood Thornton's in the 20s, Plymouth is even around 18, Littleton's in the 20s, Lafayette's in 23, Waterville's in the 50s. They're certainly an outlier, but so as far as a bang for our buck as Woodstock residents, the school district is by far the most financially viable option for us. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, Charlie Rochette?
Excuse me, but I don't know who I'm speaking with and what his position is.
Oh, I apologize. I don't think my name's Jay Duguay. I'm a Woodstock resident. I'm also a member of the school board.
And I have one more comment. With regard to, cost budget for the school. Our school has never been short on funding, has never been short on teachers or support staff. However, we're really heavy on the top end. As you know, our administration has grown through the years. Salaries, yeah, we all want to make a lot of money, but some of our salaries, I think beyond the realm of reasonable. So simply, we've never been short of money, we've never been short of staff. It's what we do with that money and what we do with that staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Patrick Griffin?
I have sat on the budget committee at the school, I've sat on the school board at the school. We have had a time when the school board did have more members from Woodstock than they did from Lincoln. And the Lincoln people were whining about that, but as people say, the public from the two towns votes the school board in, and if nobody runs, nobody runs. Money-wise, a $9 million budget for the amount of kids, and I don't know the exact amount of kids that are in the school this year, but I hear it's under 300 now. If I'm wrong, Jay, do you know the number?
Not off the top of my head, Patrick.
Okay, so it's under 300. So we're losing students, and our budget keeps skyrocketing. I think, you know, I understand everybody's argument that they don't want to send their kids to Plymouth because we have a school, or anywhere else because we have a school here. I can understand that. But it's very hard when the administration, and I'm going to use the term, buys some of the school board members, all right, and, you know, and then they don't want to vote their conscience, they want to vote for what's best for them. You know, I'm not saying all of them, okay, but there has been school board members in the past who have gotten, you know, who them and their families have gotten very lucrative positions that weren't put out, weren't posted.
I don't think that's fair to say if you don't have the facts. I don't think that's appropriate.
I do have the facts, I'm just not
We're
naming names.
gonna go one at a time.
You know, I do have the facts, I'm just not naming names, okay, because I don't think that's right. All right? So that, you know, we also have, I believe the state says 25 students per teacher. We have 2 students a class, you know, my understanding is, and I don't know what it is, I don't know exactly what it is now, but 2 teachers per class, and if you put the 2 classes together, there's not 25 students. Why do I have the teachers? Well, until somebody puts pressure on the school to change it, it's not going to change. All right? And I mean, it's just one vicious cycle. All right? And unfortunately, we can't come to an agreement. Do we want to, I agree with everybody. I understand why they don't want to send their kids somewhere else. I understand that. But this school, in my opinion, based on my positions I've had and how much I was involved in the school for a very, large number of years, is out of control.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Thomas Saborn, Charlie Wishart,
So-
Sherry Hoover.
To even bring up that people are bought off by anyone that's ludicrous in itself. I'm sorry, I mean, everyone's entitled to opinion, but everyone that's doing these jobs really, they don't do it to try to get an edge up on something. They do it because they think that what they're doing is right. I don't care if it's select board, if it's school board, if it's, these people are putting in the time, they're trying. We don't always agree with them, but I think that's a pretty far stretch. Secondly, the biggest problem in these communities is that you can't afford to raise a family here. And as you are driven out of town and the locals can't buy houses and put their kids in the school system, your number of pupils falls and your cost per pupil goes up. That's just a simple equation. And until we figure out the housing, to get some affordable housing in for these kids that are trying to buy homes and young families, they're going to all Airbnbs and stuff, and I can't say nothing. I make a lot of money off these Airbnbs and stuff. I mean, we all are in the industry of the tourist industry, but I have guys that work for me. I've lost employees because they can't afford to live in Lincoln and Woodstock. There's no affordable housing. There's no land to buy to build a small house because someone's willing to pay double.
Can't even rent right.
If we think this problem's going to go away by, if you're saying your school system isn't as good as it needs to be, if you think cutting teachers is going to solve the problem, I don't understand that at all. That makes no sense to me. If your business isn't doing good, you don't take employees away from it. If you're behind on production, it doesn't make sense. We need to figure out how to get these families to be able to grow up and have their kids here, be able to move back to the Lincoln Woodstock community, to the town that they love, to get a decent job that's paying them something, not $9 an hour, $8 an hour. They need to be able to afford to live here. They need to be able to buy land and get a small house or an affordable apartment. That ratio, we lost 50-something kids this year. It's because these young families can't stay here. And until both towns, Lincoln and Woodstock, really take a serious look, this has been a problem for decades. But now it's to the point where it's almost to the point of no return. And if something major doesn't happen here and we don't say, we gotta keep some locals here, that ratio, the kids are gonna drop, the cost of the building and the staff are gonna stay high, and I don't care how many people you cut, that number is just gonna keep going crooked. We need to figure out how to keep people here and that's a major issue,
Thank you, Tom. Sherry Hoover.
I just want to remind people that go to the town meeting, for the last 25 years, I go at the end of the meeting, I remind everybody that the next week is the school board meeting, the annual meeting, and nobody shows up. And I keep telling them, you need to go. It's the only place you can go and spend $7 million and not ask any questions. On that note, I've had 2 kids graduate from Linwood. I wouldn't change that for anything. I would not recommend pulling any of the kids out. That's not the answer. But the administration cost is ridiculous. And they're hiring more people for administrative? That makes no sense to me. There's less kids. You've got more time to do your job. Maybe the answer, or worth checking into, is joining another SAU for administrative part of it. I don't recommend changing a lot in the school structure. But I think the financial part, I think it really needs to be looked at and at least get some answers. I know we used to be part of SAU over in Woodsville. And I know that because I came from there and I knew the superintendent and the assistant. And they ran 6 to 8 different school districts. Everybody still had their own school. So I just think it's really worth checking into.
Thank you, Sherry. We have Patrick Griffin and then Lisa.
Just to expand on what Sherry says, nobody goes, is there, I have heard from several different people over the years that people are afraid to go and speak against the school because their children and their grandchildren would get retaliated against by the administration in the school. You guys can laugh all you want. I'm just telling you what people have told me. And I understand, and the people who went to Linwood School years ago that are here, I think Gil, Rob, Mike, I guess it used to be a pretty good school and people used to graduate, very high up. It's changed. It's changed, so.
We have doctors that just came out of that school.
Yeah.
We have professional people that just came out of that school. We have auto mechanics that came out of that school. We have lawyers that came out of that school. So I don't know how much it's really changed other than some people's perception of what we really have.
Lisa Robinson?
I was just
Charlie
curious about the SAU. We wanted that years ago, right? How did that, does anybody remember how that
I was
even
still in
became?
school, but-
So we, right, I probably was too, I don't remember, but
When they
there
split
had to have
things, I
been a
remember
reason
it.
why we did what we did, and we thought it was good, and now it seems like we're gonna ruin all that and go back to the way things used to be, and I don't know if that's the answer.
Does Jay, you have?
There's a little bit of information. Essentially, we did join a school district, I think it was SAU 23 at the time, was the Woodsville School District, and we shared a superintendent, and the primary purpose of that was cost savings.
Yeah.
And after several years of doing that, it became clear that we just weren't getting the services that we were paying for. The district administration office does certain things for the school. They're supposed to manage certain aspects of the operations of the school, and we just weren't getting what we were paying for. And so, in essence, it was not worthwhile for us to split the district in the way that we did. And we have I would say we have a fairly efficiently run administrative office, and it's one of the unfortunate economies of scale with a small school with our own SAU. So that sort of one, we're splitting that cost of administration over a fewer amounts, which obviously raises the per pupil cost. But I think in the long run, after having experimented with a shared administrative office, that didn't work out, and it was determined to be in the best interest of the district to go by ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. I think Paula Hood and then Sherry Hoover. Oh, were you after Lisa? Yes, Charlie, sorry, I'm losing track. I apologize. Charlie, then Paula Hood, then Sherry Hoover. Thank you.
Just real quickly, I want to reiterate a couple of points I heard here. Tom Saborn again, what are you, a genius?
I'm pretty far from that, I think. I went to Linwood, remember? I just told
You
you.
hit on a big point that has always been an issue, affordable housing. We haven't been able to solve that problem in the almost 40 years I've lived here. I sat on that school budget committee for many years, and back when we were part of the old SAU. Okay, so, and this housing issue is not gonna go away. It's only gonna get worse with the too many Airbnbs. I'm watching my neighborhood lose house after house after house that just a few years ago were affordable, could have put kids back in the neighborhood, and we're taking them out of the neighborhoods. I don't have a solution. I don't think anyone here does. But that is a big part of it. One more thing about school enrollment has decreased year by year by year. Regardless of what the reason is, the school population has decreased. All costs have increased, and just too much money, but too little return.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Paula Hood? And Sherry Hoover, then Robert McAfee.
I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. When I initially saw it on Facebook, I was like, holy God, we've got a big problem here. But I think it's very important that we listen to all sides, and I'm here because I'd rather hear it for myself than read it on Facebook or have hearsay. So thank you all for getting involved, and thank you, Robert, for starting a fire to get some of us more involved. Mr. Griffin, may I ask a clarifying question of something that you just said, because I missed a word?
Have at it.
Did you say people have come to you that for fear of retaliation against their children by everyone employed by the school, or did you say administrative retaliation? Could you just clarify that for me? Because quite honestly, being someone in the school who takes pride in my job, and I do work hard, and I know I can do better, and I try to do better daily, I would never, ever retaliate against a child who is innocent in all of this because the adults around them are disagreeing. Tom said it best, we need to agree to disagree, because everybody in here is coming at this from a very well-meaning point, whether we have the same opinion or not. And please, sir, I know you're not looking at me right now. I am trying to maintain eye contact with you. However, please, if people are coming to you with words like that, that in itself, aside from any of this, is ludicrous. And that needs to be addressed. And if at any time my name is brought to you, sir, doing something like that, I would appreciate it if you would come talk to me directly, because clearly I need to change something I'm doing, because I don't want any child to ever, ever fear school. There's enough fears. This world is scary enough. School should be safe. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Well, you said you had a question for me. You want me to answer a question?
If you care to.
Okay.
You didn't look at me,
Well,
so I don't know.
Number one, the reason I'm not looking at you is because I have a hearing issue, and this ear is better. If I turn, I'm not going to hear you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So that's number one. Okay? Number two, nobody has ever specifically said, well, I didn't mean to imply, nor did I mean for you to infer that my statement meant everybody in the school was doing this. Okay? All I know is what I have been told over the years. And it is a generic, the school will, and nobody said any names, okay? Nobody said the administration, nobody said the teachers, said the school has been known to retaliate. Now, who in the school was doing that, I do not know. I was told a blanket statement. I'm repeating what I was told by multiple people over the years. All right, it's not just, it's not this today, it's not yesterday, not last week. I'm talking over the years. Okay, so nobody was named individually. They didn't even narrow it down to administration or teachers. Okay, so it was a general statement to me, and I am just relaying what I heard over the years.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. I would caution you to try to investigate some of those things that you hear, because unfortunately, sometimes with the hearsay, negative things occur. And I'm just thinking about one of your concerns, the budget committee in itself. There was a lot of hearsay going on about that, and I don't want to get into it, but I'm just backing up my point. There was a lot of hearsay, and I think that's why some people felt the way they did at the time. Sherry, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, we're gonna go Sherry, and then we're gonna go Robert, and then, I believe we have a few hands on Zoom, so we'll transfer over to Zoom for a little bit, and then we'll come back to the audience. Sherry Hoover.
In answer to Lisa's question about when we split up the SAU, a lot of that was we had over 400 kids at that time, and it just made sense to have more administrative in-house because there was the structure for it. And it was more time-worthy, everything. But now we're back to lesser kids. So I was just wondering if it might be worth checking into doing that again. Not necessarily Woodsville, it could be another school district. But once again, the taxpayers have to show up at the annual meeting, whether out of fear or whatever. It doesn't matter. Show up and have your say. You get a vote. And if you don't show up, you're wasting it.
Thank you, Sherry. Robert.
First, going along with what Pat said, I had at least 5 people ask me to come do this today because they were afraid of that very thing. So Paula, there are people that are upset and worried about retaliation about speaking up. No doubt about it.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
No doubt about it, so.
Very sorry to hear that.
I want to look at that.
Hold on, we do have some hands here. I gotta bring the computer closer because I can't see.
We didn't spend big money on this.
See that?
Right?
That's all right, saving money.
They'll just have to deal with my volume, I guess. Let's hope the speakers work too. All right, we have Andrew Wilson. Feel free to unmute yourself here. Let's unmute.
Hi, I'm sorry, I don't know why it says Andrew Wilson, it's Jackie Wilson.
Okay, we will update that.
My computer lagged.
Very good.
I wanted to respond to something that Sherry Hoover, Robert McAfee, and a couple of other people have brought up, and it's this idea of sharing a superintendent. I think it's a fine idea to explore and talk about, as it's been said already several times tonight. Our budget is very large. It's not disproportionately large when you compare it to other schools of the same size. Other K-12 schools in the state are in the same boat. Economy of scale, I think, is what Jake Duguay said. But we know that we can't just keep having a budget that's growing and growing year after year, especially when ability to make money in this town is fairly limited, just given the economy of the town. And as many people have said, the housing problem that we have for the people who are trying to work in this town. So I think it's a really smart idea to look at the budget, and I think it's a smart idea to let everyone feel heard in that the budget is really large. I don't think anyone would argue with that, and I think if we can all come at it from, hey, the budget's large, it's not sustainable to keep increasing it year after year when income and other things are not also increasing. I think that lets everybody feel heard, and I think that's very important for having a productive conversation. I would say that when we just throw out this idea of sharing a superintendent, I don't know how Dr. McGinn spends her time, and I'm not sure that anyone in this audience does. Do we know what's on the superintendent's plate? Do we know what would happen if Dr. McGinn or any superintendent were to work, say, 3 out of 5 days or 2 out of 5 days? What would we not be getting if we did that, and would our students suffer as a result? Lisbon and Profile high schools share a superintendent. Maybe it would be worth talking to those schools. SAU 35 shares a superintendent. I don't know how they share it, and I don't know what they think of that. So I guess I just wanted to speak out to say, I think it's important we don't shoot all ideas down, and I think it's important we acknowledge that the increasing budget is not going to be sustainable, but when we all act like we have these easy answers, like get a new superintendent, do we really know what we're talking about? So, you know, if there's a committee or something that wants to get together to try and really find real information and not just toss out ideas, I would be interested to help out with that. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm not seeing any other hands raised right now online, so how about Charlie? You had something to comment on? Yep.
Yeah, actually, I do, but I'm not gonna address that whole retaliation thing. I don't think this is the time or the place.
Thank
I
you.
do want to address the issue of not having a budget committee at the school. It seems for a few years I've been sleeping at the wheel. I wasn't even made aware of that till about a week ago. So, at the district, they voted out the budget committee. Doesn't mean we cannot vote it back in. I spent many years on that school budget committee and a few years on this town budget committee. And I see them both as a valuable asset in understanding what's going on and understanding the real cost from every individual department in the town and the school. So, some people here know better than I do what it takes to get that back on the ballot next year and propose it to our friends and neighbors. It's a necessary part of the checks and balances, in my opinion.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, Robert.
Just one last thing for me.
Yes, sir.
All I want to do is motivate people to come up with a plan to make the school better. The thing that I always hear is though, oh, they're doing a lot, but nobody's got anything specific to say. I would love for you to tell me one of your programs that you have mentioned that exists and what is actually being done. I've never heard you say anything other than, we're working on it. I'd like something
I can address that right
measurable.
now, or
I'd
we
like
can
to-
address it personally, and we can address it
Yeah.
after the meeting. I think that's
I'd
probably
just
more appropriate.
like to see some metrics behind something
Sure.
that's measurable to show that something's being done and there's a result that occurs. That's what we're missing here.
I have one on here that came up before Robert, or right after Robert. Maltese. Go ahead. Can you state your name for us, please? Crickets. Maltese 3.
Oh, hi Cheryl, it's Jody Avery.
Thank you, Jody. Go ahead.
No, I'm just listening in because I'm curious.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna mute you then, okay?
Okay.
Thanks for joining.
Can I just ask a quick question of Mac? I'm looking at Woodstock Residents for Education Excellence. Is that some kind of group that has gotten together that would...
It is, and they will identify themselves when they choose.
That's fine, I'm just curious because maybe they can, as Jackie was talking about.
The point was to let you know that it's not just me coming in here speaking. I'm speaking for a group of people that are, like we just stated, are uncomfortable coming out in public saying what they think.
That's fine, I'm just curious because it looks like an organization. It could, and I'm thinking maybe it could turn into one and do some helpful things, that's what I'm thinking, that's all.
Yeah.
I think
Great
we had Paula Hood, Charles Bushhart.
Robert,
Yes.
I'm, you know me, and
Yeah,
I am by no way able,
There's no suggestion it is of you or
No, I know that,
specific,
but what I'm trying to say is, I really can't give you a lot of information that you're looking for because I don't have it,
Yeah.
but I can tell you from my experience, we have, in the elementary school, We do have a new reading curriculum that we purchased because we were concerned about scores. We also have a new math program. And I can't give you the dates off the top of my head, but the math was purchased first. The reading was purchased like a year or so after.
Yeah, I'm aware of those.
So I don't know what kind of numbers, but it is a rigorous curriculum. From my point of view, we are seeing some, but like I said, I can't give you
That's the
hard
thing.
numbers.
Everybody, and I know of both of those programs and the
Good.
dollars spent on them,
Okay.
I'm well aware of it from my time on the budget committee. The problem is, nothing is measured. There are no metrics in place to evaluate the usefulness of the system, whether it works for you or not. There's nothing that's providing feedback to the public. The superintendent was unable to give us any information of any kind when we were on the budget committee. And we requested lots and lots of information that we never got. And we should be able to get that information. There isn't even any information on evaluating the competency of each teacher. There's no review that was made available to us, whether it exists or not. You tell me, are you reviewed each year on your skill set and that kind of thing? Because
We have a professional development plan in place, yes, we do.
So
And it should be on file with the DOE as well.
it should be, but nobody can get a hold of any of it. There's a lot of things that everybody is wondering, why can't I get this? You know, if that, in 2012, the school ranked 8th in the state. Nobody's asking any questions when you're ranking 8th. 9 years later, when you're ranking, 8 years later, it was 210th. That raises questions.
Oh, understandably
And
so.
when, the school says, oh, well, we don't follow, what is being done online, well, there's nothing else to follow. So we take the information that's available to us, because it's not being made available by the school, and look at that and say, well, that's what I've got to work with. So that's what I'm gonna raise my questions on. How do we go from number 8, and nobody has the answer to that either. How do we go from number 8, and 8 years later, go to 210? How did that happen? If you find out how that happened, then you find out how to fix it.
Is that a real number?
That is a real number.
It's a real number that's based on a lot of different things, and I don't think anybody's clear on what the rankings are based on, because none of the websites are they're all proprietary, and they're not particularly upfront about how they're ranking the schools, but largely the numbers are based on performance on standardized testing. So I can give you an explanation for a large portion of that, but basically the state of New Hampshire has changed what we're using for standardized testing. Our old science programs, our old math programs, our old reading programs were not geared towards performance on that particular test. So when they switched to that particular test, the way that we were teaching things didn't mesh well with the new testing protocols. What we have done as part of our effort to, and it's not based on online rankings, it's more based on proficiency numbers that we get from the Department of Education and how we rank with proficiency in comparison with state averages. But in an effort to raise our student proficiency ratings, we have instituted new reading programs and new math programs in the elementary school. We've instituted, I believe, a new either science program in the middle school for the purpose of helping teach a little bit more aligned with those standardized testing to get those proficiency numbers up. Now, people can disagree on whether or not that's a good thing, teaching to a test or teaching to make sure that our students are prepared for college. But I would say, regardless of what you believe on that, whether we should be teaching to a test so that we can have numbers, or we should be teaching our students to make sure that they are successful after graduation, I think that you can look at where we are, where our students are graduating, and you can see that we are successful in doing both of those things. So,
Thank you. Sounds
Could
like you guys are
establish a
doing
total
some
metric
stuff.
for what you're doing. You could have some metrics there to be able to show people. You don't.
Not yet.
We have another question here online. Jackie Wilson, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Robert McAfee, the middle school and high school just We got permission to buy a new math program last year, so grades 6 through 12 has a new math program. And the middle school grades 6 through 8 has a brand new science program that was bought with ESSER grant money. So that there's a little bit more, I guess, data for you. Also, on the New Hampshire DA website, you can see the NEOM math scores for the elementary, middle, and high school, and New Hampshire SAS scores, the statewide assessment system scores. So the data's out there. I'm not sure what you were asking for that you couldn't get, but I'm on it right now. I'm on that.
Oh, I have all that data.
Can we finish, please? If you want to be more involved, there's a strategic planning committee that has been asking parents and community members to be on. I used to be on it before I became an employee. I got off it once I became an employee. They had a big pause when COVID came. And they started it back up again. And they sent emails home and phone calls home and letters home, maybe with your students' work, asking for parents and community members to be on the strategic planning committee. So I recommend maybe participating that way. Thanks, that's all.
Very good. Thank you, Jackie. I'm gonna mute you. All right, we have no other questions online. One more, Charlie.
That's it for me, I'm gonna tell you. It seems to me that a lot of this discussion, or discussing things without information. I say this in black and white, you say this. A lot of this discussion, in my opinion, really belongs at the school board meeting. We shouldn't be discussing curriculum here.
Thank you.
I understand Bob has, issues with the way the school is run with the curriculum, etc. I just don't think this is the place. We have a board here. This board can go to the school and ask them the questions, and they have a responsibility to answer to you because you represent the taxpayers. If Bob has specific suggestions of where we should be going with curriculum, for example, and we've got a school board member here, then maybe the school board member or the board can look, here's what we've been doing. Put it on paper, black and white. Bob could put the same things or other issues, black and white. What are your issues? Or the organization, Bob, what is the organization you're representing here? A small group of concerns.
It's larger than you'd think.
What is it called?
It's a group of...
What's it called? Do you have a name?
What's the name again?
Woodstock Residents for Education Excellence.
Okay, good. I like the title. Maybe we need to get more people on there, and the people are saying, I belong to this, I want to see improvement. They need to put their faces out here. I will be the first to say, I'm happy to join the group with that name, as long as their mission statement is as their title is.
Thank you, Charlie.
Charlie's idea of having the school board file something with the town regularly, at regular intervals about the progress, and specifically what's being done to improve it is exactly what I was asked to come here for. Is to get the town selectmen involved and have the town selectmen request that comes in so that the people know at least, and then you can post it on the town website and say, here it is. Because right now, people are feeling like they cannot get anything out of the school.
Does this board accept motions from the floor?
No.
No.
Yes, Patrick Griffin.
Just the last thing for me. Tommy's first statement was correct. Okay, everybody that came here tonight is entitled to their opinion. Okay, Tom and I are obviously on opposite ends of the fence on this, but I have no doubt when we walk out the door, everything will be fine.
100% agree.
All right? And that's the way it should be. Too many people in this town, okay, maybe because it's such a small town, take things personally and hold grudges forever, all right, when there's really no need for it. People are entitled to their opinions, people are entitled to state what they've heard, people are entitled to do anything at a public meeting, all right? It's just, we shouldn't go out and have any animosity between us.
I just like to say, come in as a community, leave as a community.
Yep,
Shut up.
100%. Rebecca and then Lisa.
I just wanted.
Oh, you were just.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add that, to Ms. Wilson's comment about how she was saying that there's been a place where they've been asking parents to be more involved or
The
other
strategic
things.
planning.
Yes.
Yep.
For that, again, I stand by that the housing needs to be addressed in our little town. Because there's not enough workers like my job specifically, I have to work extra because we're so short-staffed. Dunkin' Donuts is closing. There's a couple other restaurants that are closing earlier. Lots of businesses are changing their hours just to fit because there's not enough staff. So I was just pointing out the fact that if she's having a hard time there, it's obviously in reference that there's not enough people in the town, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Not enough volunteer hours for strategic planning committee because
we're so
we've already
short on
stretched-
residents, I
stretched
feel
thin.
like.
Yep.
I don't know where else to add to make a point of me saying that I
Yeah.
would love it if there was
It would
more
be hard for
housing.
you to join a meeting at 5 o'clock when you
Yeah,
work
yeah.
on evenings or something.
Exactly, like I've been picking up extra shifts and overtime, and that obviously takes less at a time for me to do things like this, or even be at home with my family.
Yeah. Yes, Tommy Sebern and then Charlie.
Last thing for me. The school thing, there's no golden bullet that's gonna solve everything. Everyone really does believe that they're right and that what they say is right. I mean, everyone has a different opinion, but I really think 110% this housing thing is a bad deal. Is there any talk between the Lincoln Selectmen and the Woodstock Selectmen on any front of trying to save the communities, the public, the people that belong here, that live here year-round? Is there any kind of correspondence? We have a thing coming into Woodstock, hopefully, which will provide some housing. We could keep ignoring it, but this is a bad deal. It's getting worse.
I was reading an article today about what a lot of towns out west are doing, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree with this, I'm just saying that they're limiting the amount of Airbnb nights that can be produced and be had, and to a certain number of nights, or it depends on the type of ownership. I didn't read the whole thing, but it's a pretty common thing now
Especially in resort communities.
those big resort communities to limit the Airbnbs precisely because no one can live there anymore.
I've been watching what's happening in Conway, because Conway's passed the legislation, or passed in their town ordinances about Airbnbs, and they're in court right now with that. So it's you kind of watch and see how they're shaking out to see, okay, what steps can we take?
But have the towns actually, the selectmen got together and said,
Not both
let's start
towns.
brainstorming.
But it's a good idea.
I mean,
And they do that,
it's
yeah.
not Lincoln Woodstock thing, this is Linwood thing.
No, I think
and
it'd be a great
it's-
workshop to get together and talk about it, for sure.
I want my kids to go to Linwood, and
Oh, I think we should.
I got 3 more years before she gets to go to kindergarten, and I would prefer to go to a community like this versus.
I think this has
southern
been a super discussion, and I think that the school board was meant to be kind of independent, but I think we, maybe myself included, have fallen, short on getting involved. You know what I mean? And the way it's set up is that it's set up according to the way it was set up. It has to be a member from Lincoln and a member from Woodstock. The other 5 members can be from either town. So there's no set number or anything like that. If Woodstock people want to get involved and they think there's issues, we should we should get on there and get it done.
We should put some
And we should-
candidates up.
We should put some candidates up, and we should be involved, you know? I mean, I think it's always easy to make criticism from the outside looking in, whether it's an organization or a business, if you're not involved. You know, there's certain rules and regulations they gotta live by, just like I do in my business. They say, why wouldn't I do that? Why shouldn't they do this? There may be reasons that they can't, or things they have to do because of the way the laws are written. But I mean, I don't think anybody is in favor of separating the schools or sending anybody anywhere else. I certainly am not, and I haven't heard really anyone that is, honestly.
It's certainly an attention getter.
It was an attention getter because I've gotten a lot of attention because of it, and but I think, you know, there's certain ways we can improve, and we should be more involved in helping the school be better. You know, not going out and attacking the school, but working with the school to try to see what we can do to make it better. So that's my attitude.
If I may just for a moment address some of Tom's comments. It's hard to tell somebody what to do with their property. They own it, they paid money for it. If they want to Airbnb it and make some extra money to help pay that off and to maybe set aside a nest egg, I can't address that. I won't address that. I happen to have a small rental. I do not Airbnb it. But that's just my own personal.
You know, what's happening is that, you know, there's investors coming into Lincoln, especially Lincoln, buying up 4 or 5 condos at a whack and running it like a hotel. And one of the rules that they actually had was if they wanted to rent it out full-time as an Airbnb, they had a full-time office, they had to have a full-time front desk, so forth and so on. So they had to be almost running it like a hotel. You know, and I'm not saying it's a good or bad idea.
Right.
I'm just throwing it out there.
And we know that, obviously, if I can sell my property for more, I mean, your property is your retirement, so when you sell it, we all get that, you know,
Right.
when we're not bashing people that are doing it, because we get it. I mean, we live in a small community where it's hard to survive. But not so much as maybe ruling Airbnbs to a certain extent, but what about town properties and trying to get together to produce, you know, affordable housing on properties, or acquiring properties, or coming up with a game plan to protect the longevity of our community.
The town can't go into the real estate business.
Right.
We're not allowed to. But in regard to affordable housing, we do have the AHEAD project coming.
That's wonderful.
That was with this in mind, exactly what we're talking about tonight. And it's going to be set up basically the same way that Lincoln Green is. It will take 30% of your income, and it's affordable. And what they refer to as affordable housing is you have to have a combined income, 2-parent or whatever, of $40,000 minimum. So it's not low income, it's not Section 8.
Right.
It's not any of that. And they will take, the same way that I believe they do with Lincoln Green, 30% of that. That allows you another 70% to own a car, pay the bills, pay, maybe put some money ahead to go out and buy something. And today's real estate market is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
I see it in my profession. I did a place
Today.
that I helped build. I did a place today.
Today? Yeah, my son's, oh my God.
Yeah, and I did a place that I helped build in 2004, okay? It went for, I think we built it for somewhere around 5.25. Big place, top of Blue. And it sold again for 8.25. It just went for, and the guy kind of put it online. There was sort of a bidding process going on. They stopped at 1.7, and they bid 300,000 over to guarantee that price. So that went from 525,000 in 2004 to 2 million 2 months ago. So you really need to have something like that project.
That's
that
cost
won't-
for me.
that won't do it. Well, sure, but I mean, that's what I'm seeing.
That's what's happening.
50,000 over asking price right now is nothing. Is nothing. So that's why there's no real affordable housing, because it's being gobbled up since this pandemic, since people can work from home, since they don't have to go into the city anymore. and the market's just going haywire.
The number one way to address that in this community
When it drops.
is to extend water and sewage lines so you can create smaller lots that can sell at lower prices and have smaller houses.
If you got land you can buy, if there's anything for sale.
There's all kinds of it down Route 3 and up 175, that, you know, if they had water and sewer, they could split it in, their lots into 5, 10 lots.
We have hoped over the years too of getting to the Jack-o'-lantern. They have a community shared system down there, but we have set aside property going down Route 3 from people who want to build closer to the setback, so that possibly we could get down and maybe someday when they get sick of dealing with their own system and the headaches that go with that, with the DES, then maybe we'll be able to go down there and do that too. So we've been, Jimmy and I talked about that for years.
Yeah.
And so it's been in the back of our minds for a long time. These guys haven't been here that long in this position. I've been fortunate enough to be able to see that, and yes, we are looking at it.
And also, you know, I think, you know, I'm just thinking of it now, you know, looking at the subdivision regulations a little bit, and that they're pretty restrictive for small lots and things like that, so, sometimes, so.
Unless you have public sewer and water.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what, they're somewhat restrictive. Not that that's a bad thing either. So, I mean, you gotta have a balance, that's the thing, it depends on the neighborhood and the community. So, I mean, it's something just to look at and consider, I think.
Well, thank you all.
Sorry, real quick, I know it's ending, I just wanted to add that if anybody knows of any 3-bedroom places.
Oh.
Please call.
Desperately looking.
We appreciate you bringing this forward, we appreciate all the comments. I think we'll take everything that's been passed out or mentioned tonight and talk about putting maybe a letter together to the school that just kind of addresses the concerns that the Woodstock residents have and see how we can move forward with getting some of the information that's being requested and move forward that way and see where it brings us. Does that sound like a fair start?
Should we put this on the agenda again? Because there's a lot of, you know, people that might hear words and want to have more discussion.
If we hear, you can always call into the office if we're going anywhere, if anything's happening, or if a group comes up and says, we've got this, can we put this on the agenda? As far as just doing a continual thing and not having anything to contribute to a new part of a new discussion.
Well, we only touched on the elementary school today.
Well, this is true. I think pretty much though it's.
I think the topic line is pretty much
school-wide
you know,
issue. I don't know that, you know, just breaking it down, you know, K through 12 in 3 different groups.
I think it's a general overall.
Yeah, it's a general
Everybody
overall
wants to
concern.
But in general, we don't have to go in an order. If you, like I said, it's later, and if we end up coming up with new information, it should always be brought. Just call and get on the agenda so that we can make room for the discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming out for this part. If you'd love to join us, we do have a little more on the agenda. But
Fascinating.
Did you want to tell me anything about that letter thing?
we're going down the agenda.
Oh, okay. I didn't see.
So next up on the agenda, thank you all again.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
These are quick ones. Coming up.
Just one general question for the board, which takes a one-word answer. Can I add for your consideration here? One-word answer.
Can you do what?
Can I ask a question, simple question, that I just want a one-word answer?
Yes.
Related to the school stuff?
Related,
No,
is it related to anything on the agenda?
probably not.
Probably not.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate.
Carly, you want me to put
And
you
the
on
idea
next
for that
week?
is that if
But yeah.
Do you want to be on the
we
agenda?
want to be able
We're
to
being
be
consistent.
knowledgeable of what's being asked and what.
I can reach out to one of the board members and probably get my answer
Okay.
satisfied.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay.
In a way.
You go, wait. Here's the Alright, so next on the agenda, we have, I need a motion to accept a donation for the Woodstock Firefighter Fund from the Lobster Fest fundraiser.
I make a motion, we accept.
I second that. Did you want
That's just a donation exception.
Yeah.
So, all those in favor?
to? Aye.
Aye.
Did you want to give them that number?
Oh, $4,535 they raised on the Lobster Fest, which
Yeah,
is fantastic.
congratulations, you guys.
That was great.
Nonprofit.
Great.
Every little bit helps.
It's a lot of work putting
It's
it
a lot
out
of
there,
work.
I'm sure, just coming from that.
We have
And
a-
thanks
we have
for
a
the
good group.
community for supporting them.
Yeah,
That's
well, that's
really
the
great.
value of volunteer work.
Right?
And a strong backing by the community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, always. There were people in the office 4 or 5 days ahead with,
I was
looking for tickets that were sold out.
Yeah.
So, how many did you actually,
425 lobsters, 325 meals in 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
So it was,
Gotta take buses.
we actually cut back on the lobsters this year because of the COVID thing. We didn't know how people would be, receiving it. Also,
They're expensive.
you know, that they're through the roof. Our profit margin took a wicked hit because the lobsters were so expensive this year that literally we made very little money on
We
certain
took it
meals.
off the menu.
Yeah, but we do appreciate the support of the community.
Great. Next, we have approval of check requests for the Woodstock Firefighter Fund. We have one for Heinz Automotive for a painted pickup truck. The other, we should probably go one at a time. So do I have a motion to accept the Heinz Automotive check request?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next we have is Clark's Trading Post, a Lobster Fest fundraiser. It looks like it is a reimbursement for Lobster Fest.
I make a motion, we do the $672.15.
Right?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Oh, I'm here, sorry.
And last, we have a request for payment from the Woodstock Firefighters Fund for Melissa Sabrin for reimbursement for Lobster Fest expenses in the amount of $977.52.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Under old business, we have Cox Farm Road. So clarification of maintenance. We did get clarification under RSA 236:9. It talks about routine maintenance, which is plowing, sanding, removing tree and rocks. Those type of things are covered as routine maintenance. But things like excavation, paving, or actual repairs to the road, that's when you have to seek permission from the select board. So then, when a neighbor or somebody says to you, or says to the Class 6 owner, hey, I didn't want that, or whatever, you have somebody to come back on. You can say, well, the select board told me I could fix the road. So, on that note, we are drafting and we're working with our evaluation folks to pull all of the homeowners from a Class 6 road and send letters out to all Class 6 homeowners to state, here's what's considered routine maintenance, here's what's considered not, and as a reminder, if there's work that you have to be done, like resurfacing or whatnot, you are to come to the select board for permission.
And I don't think the idea is to make it painful, it's just.
No, it's just RSA's that we have to follow.
You want this done, like twice a year, I have it graded and new material put down, spring and fall.
Yep.
So you want,
Just
I
send
gotta
a
send a letter
Yep,
each
send a
time?
letter.
An email.
Yep,
Yeah.
send an email.
Just an email?
Yeah, and then we can address it in a meeting.
Paper trail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's perfect.
okay.
Okay, thanks.
What did you say, grading and what?
Grading and roll it, and I put new material down.
Yeah, from the holes.
You know, it gets all washboardy when
Yeah.
as people drive over it, so I grade it, smooth it out, and put material down where water, washes places out, stuff like that.
We did check on the donation request letter, or your request for a donation letter, and we were told that no, that is not something that the town of Woodstock can do, because it's not directly beneficial to the town, it's beneficial to the homeowners. But you are highly encouraged to keep your receipts and use it as a tax write-off when tax season comes.
Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so, okay.
But my accountant told me, yeah, you got the receipts, you did this, but it
Yeah.
doesn't prove that you did it on the town property. That's why you're supposed to get the letter
But tell
from the
the
town.
person giving you the receipt for your bill to put it on, put the name of your road on that, no?
Oh, I
On
guess
your
so.
receipt, yeah.
Well, plus if it's, we give you permission to do it, you know, then
Yeah, you'll have that
paper
too.
trail.
You'll have that as a paper
Yeah.
trail. Good point, Scott,
Yeah,
thank
we'll
you.
need one of those.
So next we have, does that work? So we should have a letter
Yeah.
hopefully within a week to.
So I can just send an email to the admin
Yep,
address?
send an email to the admin
thing?
account, we'll throw it on the agenda, we'll
Okay.
give the approval, and then we'll, if you're here, great, if you're not, it's okay, we'll leave it on the agenda, and we'll send you a note, okay? Very good, thank you. We have a letter here from the American Legion to the town of Woodstock. We are writing to let you know that the Legion voted to resume buying flags and holders for the cemeteries. We've appreciated your help over the last few years in covering the costs of the flags and the holders, and the Legion will continue to place the flags for Memorial Day. Sincerely, the Post 83 Executive Board, which would be Commander Jim Crispin, First Vice Commander Ray Malevy, Second Vice Commander Leon Rompery, Adjutant Larry Sweeney, Finance Officer Paul Sherwin, and Sergeant at Arms Robert Worthington, and the Chaplain Guy Hubert. So, it's good, great news. And now we will move on to public participation. Reminder that it is items that were on this evening's agenda. Mr. Dunningham, Mike Dunningham.
Can you tell me how many Class 6 roads there are and which ones they are?
We are researching that right now,
So you don't know?
not off the top of our head. Thank you.
It should be on the block grant filing that lists all the classes of roads that are.
Yep,
Yeah, that's it.
we will have that for you next meeting though. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? No? Very good. Well, again, thank everybody here on Zoom, everybody who came here in person. We truly appreciate all of you sharing your concerns and comments this evening. We are now going to move into a non-public session under RSA 91A:3, Section 2A. I would entertain a motion to enter into non-public and to adjourn the meeting after that non-public session.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all very much.
Robert, I gotta say, you know how to draw a crowd.
Well, you know, you throw the right words out, you get a lot of people spun up for you.